Hi, good morning, and welcome to a small presentation session of mine where I'll be talking about, a very different topic. It's like uh, how to, influence the behavior of the person we are dealing with, and I call this as a behavioral hacking. That is how we can, consciously or unconsciously, influence the behavior of the people we are dealing with. So, to start with, yeah, I'm talking indirectly about the first impression. We can say some call it as an executive presence. More precisely, it is the science of succeeding with people. That's the biggest challenge we have these days. We have to work in team, we have to collaborate, we have to work jointly on several projects. So it is essential that we understand that the science as to how we can succeed with people. The science of people is also known as the interpersonal intelligence. You might have heard this. Those who have done studied emotional intelligence, they're quite familiar with this terminology that is interpersonal intelligence. That is, when I say interpersonal intelligence, it simply means the intelligence between two people, right? How intelligently I understand the people with whom I am dealing with. That's it. So let's start with the first impression. That's most important. And first impression is basically an impression which is crafted when we meet another person in just a couple of few seconds. And this is basically not consciously done, but it is subconsciously created in this impression is created subconsciously in our mind. It's like that first impression, you can put it like in a snap judgment, like, you like somebody. It's about that you meet a person and within a fraction of seconds, say for instance, maybe less than, half a minute, you are able to understand, or you're going to make up your mind whether you like this person or not. It is first impression could also be seen from a point of view how I put it that way. That is trusting someone, because liking someone is different and trusting someone is more important, especially when you want to succeed with the people, right? So in a way, I consider this that how you create your first impression will define your survival mechanism or will enhance your survival mechanism in the corporate world. So the chances are your first impression can make you survive, or it may, give a bad impression so that you no more exist in the arena. So you never get a second chance to make the first good impression. That's also very true, which means that whenever we meet for the first time anybody, we must be very careful consciously and at the conscious level, at the unconscious level, so that our impression which we are going to create with that person is going to be everlasting. So let's understand what the first impression means. The first impression, when I talk about it, it's basically at a very unconscious level, we are trying to figure it out and to get answer of three basic questions whenever we meet somebody, right? But these questions are not very explicitly running across my mind, but these are there in my head. And, and when I meet somebody, these are the three factors which have to be answered before I can think that what type of an impression the person is creating on me. So the first question which subconsciously comes is basically it's a safety check. That when I meet a person, the first thing I wanted to know whether he's a friend or a foe. That is, am I this gentleman? What impression he gives this to me? That will I be safe in his company? Can I trust him? That feeling comes the way you appear. Your appearance talks more about whether you're a friend or a foe. And this is the reason that people do say that, dress for the occasion. The second is whether you are a winner or a loser. Now, this is a confidence level. So this is at this point where you must have realized that people do talk that when you meet person, look into the eyes, shake hands, smile. All these things are basically a part which reflects how confident your personality is. So I normally people wanted to get associated with winners and not the losers. So if you sound very low on confidence, then your first impression would be, I say, weak. And the third factor which I wanted to know is what are your first impression is giving indications for an alliance, that is teaming up. So how do I get the assurance that if I get friendly with you, if my first two questions are answered properly, that you are a friend and you are a very confident person, now I am willing to explore the third area where that can I get along with you as a team, right? Answer the three levels of trust, level up your first impression is definitely going to be rocking, right? So, powerful first impression, how to craft, let's see to it. So there have all these three questions at the three different levels can be hacked, right? I can, have an unauthorized access to your behavior or the person's behavior whom I'm dealing with through my first impression if I take care for the following three things. So hacking three levels of trust for great first impression. Now, hacking the first level of trust is whether you are a friend or a foe can easily be reflected by the gestures of my hand, right? So hacking the second level of the trust, whether I'm a winner or a loser, it can be, easily reflected through my postures, body language. Hacking the third level of trust, teaming up, is basically through my eye contact. So all these things are very important when we meet the person for the first time. So we must be taking care of all these three aspects. Hand postures and eye contact are the three non-verbal weapons which we can use to craft an impressive first impression on whomsoever we meet. So it helps in building up the three levels of trust. The perfect first impression, if you want to create, so we need to understand hacking the first level of trust using hands, right? So these are the most used weapon of a human body that we often communicate by using our hands, right? So hands basically they show our intention, that what is my intent when I'm talking or when I'm meeting somebody. You must have noticed that whenever a police encounters anybody or wants to stop a person from, abandoning the law or breaking the law, the first thing is his hands up. Why is it so? This simply because they wanted to have a clear-cut idea about the intention of the person they're dealing with. So when you're saying your hands up, you show that your hands are clean, and that's about it. So the first hack I would suggest you to is that keep your hand visible. Now, whenever you're meeting somebody, avoid putting up your hands in your pockets or, putting at the back of your body. Make sure that your hands are visible. Now, first hack, remember that it says make your hands visible. Keep your hands out of your pocket. And the second hack for the hands could be when you're talking about the handshake, make a perfect handshake. Now it should not be very limpy or sort of a thing like dead handshake or something, dead fish type. It should have a good sound, reasonable grip onto the person. I'm not saying that you squeeze the hand of the person you are shaking with, but at least give a good firm handshake. The handshake tells are you a friend or a foe, right? Because if you are too dominating when you are shaking hand, that doesn't obviously sound that you're a friend. If you are too weak, then it doesn't make sense to me getting along with you very well. So handshake, basically the touch of a human hand produces an oxytocin. This is a connection hormone or a connecting hormone. It's a feel-good hormone, right? So this is what you must have noticed that psychologists say that you must hug your child at least 21 times a day or something like that, so that this produces a feel-good factor hormone inside the body, right? And that way you feel very, you feel very comfortable. So when you are shaking hand, so give enough time for a handshake so that the body produces an oxytocin. So this helps in getting the connection done. A small example I'll show you that, that's Narendra Modi shaking hand with President Trump, right? So look at it, you can easily see what type of handshake is going on, right? This handshake can be different, it can be interpreted in a different way. If it's a vertical handshake, it's a submissive gesture. That is, I'm submissive. It's a firm handshake. That's very good. Yes, you can see that how firm handshake this Mr. Modi is having with Nawaz Sharif, right? Dead fish handshake is of no use. It doesn't make any sense that it's like that surrender type of a thing. So we have completed the first hack, and now we're moving on to the second level of the trust using the posture. Now, posture, when I say, is like the way I carry myself, and normally the posture should be that, your chest out and your shoulders back. That's it, but we'll be dealing it more precisely as we move ahead with the presentation. People like to associate with the winners. This is for sure. Nobody wants to get along with the losers or, people who have always, tendency to talk, those who do not sound confident. So people like to be led by the winners. If you're looking after a team, then they will not like a leader who is not very confident. They would like the leader to be the winner. So first hack, as far as postures is concerned, that you have to go for a power posing. Now, when I say power posing, is that means your pose should reflect that you are a powerful person. Look at the slide and you can easily get an idea what I'm talking about. The shoulders should be down and back, as I have marked with an arrow. And if you look into it, the chin and the forehead should be straight and slightly above, right? It should not, your head should not be down. It should be head up. And space, there has to be space between your arm and a torso. Don't clench yourself, right? So there has to be space between your torso and your arms. So body language is the fastest way of showing your confidence to the other. So this is the thing which I observe that most people do not care or don't give attention to. So, but we need to carefully look into it. That it's the easiest and the fastest way, but we have to consciously work onto it. That's for sure. You cannot think that the more you practice, the more you do it, the more it becomes inherent quality of your first impression, right? So again, the confidence, if you talk about, it is non-verbal, right? So now that's it. That was the second level. The third level, if you want to hack, is basically the level of a trust using the eye contact. Now, the eyes, these are the non-verbal signals of your goodwillness. That is, it's not often you must have heard, the females say that. Females have a good understanding for this. This is, I don't understand the intent of the person whom I'm dealing with. Somehow, I'm not comfortable with. Now, when they say they're not comfortable with, that doesn't mean that, okay, that the person is bad. They're trying to say that the non-verbal signal they're getting from the eyes of the person doesn't sound that good as it is supposed to be. As they say, I reflect, indicator for alliance. So you see, if you are clean, if you look into the other person's eyes, confidently, the person gets along very well. So eye contact decides the teaming, right? So the first hack for teaming is override to the impulse to look away shyly. Normally, you will find that when we meet somebody, either we have overexcitement, or you can blame it for the hormones hijack, whatever the reason could be. We try to shy away, but that is not required. So please do away with that. It is required that we hold the eye contact for an average 60% of the time we are talking or we are in contact with the person with whom we want to create a good first impression. 40% of eye contact, for your information, occurs while you are talking, right? So while talking, 40% of this is easily done, and 75% of the eye contact occurs when listening. So what I wanted to make a point with this slide is that instead of making or talking too much, if you start listening, so your eye contact goes above the level of 60% that is required. So that is, in fact, you cross this by, your eye contact touches to the level of 75. Eye contact is the best way to develop the trust or to build the trust, right? Because invariably it is noticed that if you're not confident or if you're hiding something, you would avoid the eye contact. But if you are very confident and you are very clear and you're conscious, your intent is nice, so you definitely have the eye contact. Great eye contact, and that helps in building the trust. More than 65%, you'll be surprised, more than 65% of hiring managers believe that the first impression plays a major role in hiring decision. Now, when you go and meet the HR manager for the first time, normally you will notice this fact. I mean, I don't know how many of you have noticed that HR, when you enter the HR room, there's a slight longer distance of a walkway. So why they kept this walkway purposely, so that they can see, they can observe as you walk into their room. So 65% of the time, the hiring manager says that when we see these candidates, just by looking at the candidates, right, I can or they can make an impression whether they're going to hire you or not. So again, continuing with the first impression hacks, 61%, this was observed by, I'm sharing some HR experts, managers' feedback. They say 61% candidates lack the eye contact. They are very good, but they avoid the eye contact. They have 33% invariably have a very poor postures, and 26% have a weak handshake. Firstly, we are very apprehensive in shaking the hand, assuming that we are there as a candidate seeking a job. But all the more, I'll recommend that if you have an opportunity to shake hand, please do so. Do not avoid so. 47% lack smile. Now, they say that smile increases your face value, but unfortunately, we are not concerned and we are not, we're nervous or whatsoever may be the reason, but please do keep in mind that you should smile. So hack behavior, or I would say that to create a great first impression. So make sure that your presence is felt, you are in the limelight, and your executive presence is being noticed by the people. right? So executive, now with this, we have come to the second session of my presentation, though it's a longer one, but I'm trying to cover it as fast as I can. It's basically, we're talking about the impression, or you call it as a charisma or a personality. Now, executive presence, the first factor count is the appearance, I'll call it. That is the physicality. P stands for physicality, that is the looks. Now, this is very important that I do look or appear in front of the people according to the type of a profession I am engaged with. This is an essential part, that is the energy. That is, how much enthusiasm I'm carry or I bring along with me as I come in front of the people whom I meet. So executive presence, first factor is that how you appear. Second is the amount of enthusiasm you carry. And the third is the enigma, that is the personality, the fragrance, the charm, that, or you call it as a charisma, whatever you name it. It's very difficult to define, but you will find that certain people, when you meet, you feel good about them. And that's what it is, enigma I'm talking about. So executive presence is all about emotional discipline and leadership. That is ability to command respect. Now, respect is always commanded, right? It's not, it cannot be, it's a desired factor, but you have to have an ability to command respect. So we'll talk about executive presence more in detail. The first is the confidence, that is the type of impression you're going to carry. Second is appearance, the way physicality, the way you look, the way you body, the way you smell, the way you groom. Enthusiasm, the energy, the confidence, the exuberance, and charisma, the personality. Communication, that how you use voice inflection, the tone, the pitch, the timbre, how well you are putting across your thoughts, your clarity of thoughts, clarity of expression, all these comes within the communication. At this point of a time, I would like to add, most people think that communication is all about language, but I have a different view over here. I feel language is not communication. The clarity of thoughts and expression is basically communication. Even if you know how to speak very well in English, but still if your clarity of thoughts and expression is not there, you will fumble. So first work on your clarity of thoughts, clarity of expression, and then if you are finding it the language is a problem, go ahead with that. Then next is the conduct, the character, the connection, that what is your level of engagement with the work you are doing it. Clarity of expression, credibility, the reliability. So executive presence is all about three things: appearance, communication, and the gravitas, we call it. Now, executive presence appearance is about, physicality, that is reflection, charisma, the confidence. Executive presence is all about communication, and communication is about composure, that is clarity, and expression, that is inflection. And when I say communication, people think that, when we speak, it's a communication. I feel communication is more to do with listening than to speaking. Now, executive presence has another aspect called gravitas, that is conduct, behavior, and how well you are organized and how well you execute yourself. So gravitas means calmness under pressure, because at the corporate world, wherever you're working, whether it's your business or you're working for someone, there will be definitely business pressure, time pressure. How you behave in those pressures, that's more important. That defines your gravitas. How well-balanced person you are. Are you too emotional? Are you very reasonable? Or how do you balance emotions and reasons? That's again. So executive presence appearance, I would suggest, please dress for the occasion. Look at this, Mr. Modi. I mean, we do criticize his, blazer, I will call it as a suit that is very expensive, but he always dress for the occasion. Second, communication, sound engaged with your message when you're talking. So don't talk for the sake of talking, or don't express for the sake of expressing. You do sound engaged, that you are part of the conversation, right? So if you look at it, I would personally put it, Mr. Manmohan Singh as the very learned prime minister. But what was the problem? That he doesn't, whenever he has spoken on television or the media, he never sound engaged. This gentleman in the center, there is no question of engagement. He talks the things which makes no sense at all. And the last one, I would not like to say anything about it. I don't want to enter into controversies, right? So when you talk about the communication, sound engaged with the message, use your vocal periods, that is, try to use short sentences, avoid accent. We think that if we talk in an American accent, we sound more presentable. No, it's not. yeah, for your kind information, why Indians are communications are rated as a higher, because we lack accent, and Americans do have accent, Europeans do have accent, but we as an Indians do not have accents. To try to avoid using accent, right, and be very clear. However, I strongly suggest you to use inflection, voice modulation, pitch, right, timbre, when to stop and not to stop, and that's how you only way to practice is using small sentences. Now look at the three pictures that you're seeing right now. Like he speaks in a language from where this which place he belongs to, like Itao or something. This lady becomes, she could not balance emotion and reason, and she becomes very, at times aggressive in her communication. And this lady, I mean, she even reads it from the paper, but she can't read it properly. So communication, as I said rightly, is a sound engage with your message. Use vocal periods, I'm saying short sentences, as you use annotations very effectively, because if you're not using effectively, the message will not that clear. Get across that clear, sorry. The research has proved that 38% is based on tonality, inflection, and modulation. So whatever we are speaking, the 38% of it is how you are using voice tone, inflection, modulation, annotation. That means how you sound. That it's exactly very important. That is, am I sounding aggressive? Am I sounding annoyed? It contributes 38%. 7% of the evaluation, if you talk about communication, is based on the content. So we are worried about the content. We're not worried about how you're going to sound when you are going to talk to the audience. If you look at some of the famous orators, they are not very concerned about the content. They are obviously, but when they talk, they're more concerned towards the 38 part of it. And the last is 55% of your communication is evaluated on the basis of non-verbal cue, the body language, posture, gesture, eye contact. Now, this is the thing which requires most of the attention. But because of the stage fear or the fear of public speaking, we generally overlook this aspect, and we are more concerned with the 7%, as I write, that what should be the content like. On the other hand, I strongly recommend that please, first and foremost thing is, if you have to talk to the people at a large gathering, or you have to address a class, or you have to take a webinar, or you're going to address a conference, make sure that you do not go into a denial mode saying that you are not nervous. The more you deny, the harder you have to fight with yourself. It's better that you automatically at the first respond when you feel nervousness or goosebumps, you say that, oh God, you are nervous. And once you acknowledge that you are nervous, the fight to prove that you are not nervous gets over. The moment it gets over, you settle down gradually, and as a result, your non-verbal body language or body communication becomes much better, and that is most which is required. To connect, make your presence felt, right? Right tonality helps the listener in focusing on the most important words and part of your message. Now, if your tone is right, tone in the sense, at what point of time you're going to raise your voice, you're going to lower it down. So executive persuasive influence is basically about the tonality. So executive presence, persuasive presence, if you talk, use inflection, annotation effectively, use volume, speed, pauses, articulation, breathing, and tonality to sound credible. If you're reading a passage or if you're talking too fast, it doesn't sound credible. If you're going slow, it doesn't make any sense. If you're breaking the lines in between, it doesn't make any sense. And to get the executive persuasive presence felt to your audience, I strongly recommend to do rehearsals, 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 and rehearsals. So executive presence is all about command, engage, and connect. So with this, we have come to the presentation on my presentation on the first, how to create a first great impression, and I call it as a behavioral hack. Use annotation, executive for executive presence. That's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I hope you would like the presentation. And I appreciate if you can share your comments with me, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a great day.